Welcome back everybody to another episode of Shamshir Sound. In today's video, we're going to be looking at stereo width, and we're going to be looking at a new plugin by Polyverse in collaboration with Infected Mushroom, and it's a plugin called Wider. So this is a free plugin. The link is in the video description. Check it out, download it, install it. Let me know what you think. And this is a simple tool to spread stereo width to your narrow, center, mono type of sound, whatever it might be, percussion, vocal, synth. So there's going to be a lot of different uses for a plugin like this. To boot, we can see here there's just one control here, 0 to 100%, and you can go beyond that as well. So you can go kind of beyond the standard width spectrum, and you're going to want to use your ears. You know, there's no right or wrong in terms of how wide you want your sound to be, but a word of caution with this is going to be, if you're doing vocals, be sure that your vocal still has some integrity in the center. If you guys listen to tracks like, if you heard 21 Savage or stuff from Metro Boomin, Future, a lot of trap and trance, electro, house, the vocals are powerful in the center, and they generally have harmony or unison or chorus, top layer, bottom layer, spread across the stereo field. In regards to trap music, that's why you see trap where they have a lot of ad-libs in the stereo width field. It's really wide for the ad-libs, whereas the vocal itself, for instance, when I was remixing the Future Mask Off track, Future Mask Off, the vocal was like smack in the middle and the ad-libs complemented in the sides. Here I have an example. I have a lead sound that is very mono, it's just center, and there's some reverb on it. I didn't do the reverb in the synth because I didn't want the reverb to get widened as well. So be careful when you use this, because you're going to be widening whatever is coming into the plugin. So a word of caution would be that if you can, widen it and then do the reverb. But again, there's no rules with music. Like they say, it's 50% science, 50% art. So if it sounds good, it's good. One thing that's really cool about Polyverse's Wider is that they state that the characteristic of the sound doesn't change too much. As we all know, when you make a sound wider, it gets louder. So you have to be careful. You're going to have to compensate, bring down the levels so it's not as loud. And another thing is that the characteristic can change. And when I say that, I mean the tonality. It can go from sounding maybe, raw and like thick to maybe sometimes sounding, I wouldn't say thin, but kind of like muffled or losing a bit of its character. And they're saying that they're using a smarter algorithm and something that will prevent phasing as well. So when you guys are doing extreme widening or making something very wide, I would recommend using something like Isotope Imager. This will allow you to monitor the stereo width. You'll be able to see how wide the sound is, and whatever you're playing back into this, for instance, your master track, or even if it's an individual track, you want to make sure that most of the time it's in the positive, +1. If you start going below here, that's when you enter dangerous realm, and that's where you enter phasing issues, which is also known as incorrect playback or losing detail, losing data, missing sounds on a mono system. And you can use something like Isotope Imager to monitor. You can also use Voxengo Span. And another thing that I like to do is merging everything. If you merge your sounds in the middle, it'll sum up everything in the middle. And if something is too wide, you'll notice the problems when you do that. So that's another trick in case you don't want to use Isotope Imager. So I whipped up a quick track here, and I have the saw synth with wider as well as the fruity balance here, these automations. So what's happening is on the 5th bar, these automations will kick in, we'll turn on wider, and we'll turn on the fruity balance. Fruity balance is just bringing down the decibels a bit because it did get much louder after I made it wider. And I set the value to around 60 to 70%. So we'll just leave it at 72%. So on the 5th bar, you'll get an idea what it's like with it on and off. So let's have a listen. So you can see it does make it much wider. It's very audible. I noticed that it was audible right where I started to kind of just pump up beyond 20-30%. And the thing about this is that you can really get simple, quick results. There are a lot of ways you can make a sound wider. You can use ping pong delays. You can use panning techniques, panning it left and right, using reverbs. You can use chorus effects. There's a variety of ways to tackle it, but from a simple, one knob tool, I would definitely recommend this. When I was experimenting with this earlier today, I realized that you don't really get any phasing problems. You might encounter problems if you go beyond. This would probably, I would only recommend going, beyond this way if you're doing something for utility, maybe like an effects breakdown, like a down riser, uplifter or something, whatever you want to do, maybe like background vocals or something. For the most part, I was happy with the values anywhere from like 100 down to like 50 in those values. But it is definitely a great tool. I haven't been using it in my projects or my tracks just yet, but if you're looking for something simple, because compared to things like Fruity Stereo Enhancer, Stereo Enhancer wouldn't be that great if you already have something that's very mono. It's a cool plugin. It's free, so it's a win-win situation. And I do have it on the vocal as well. If we have a listen to the vocal.
Time up, time up, time up, time up, time up.
You can see that it adds a lot of width to the track. And I had this one at 100%. So be wise with what you choose. One of the producers from the Reveal team said, a lot of people have either all their tracks that they send them is either so narrow, too narrow, or they end up making things way too wide. And so you want to play around with it. The stereo field is not such that you should always make everything wide, but it's about playing with the listener's ears, playing with ear candy, giving momentum. In regards to that, be careful. You don't want to slap this on your kick. You don't want to start slapping this on, percussion for no reason. Go in with intent. And if there's something that you feel needs to be wider, for instance, there's a track that I'm working on and the intro percussion is very center. And it's not even like a thick percussion. It's something that's very brittle and thin. It's kind of more of an effects purpose. And so I thought to myself when I was writing notes that, hey, I should try putting this plugin on it and see what happens. And again, when you do it, be sure you do check your levels and make adjustments accordingly because it will go up in volume. So just be aware of that. Anytime you mess with the stereo field, there's going to be a rise in the volume as well. So I hope you guys liked this video. Check out the free plugin. Drop a comment, drop a like, and if you guys have any requests, feel free to drop them below. I'll try and respond as soon as I can. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Keep making them gains. I'll see you soon.